This video shows you how to graph in Excel 2011 and in particular overcome some of the issues associated with non-numeric data that you download from the Economic Report of the President. So the leftmost column is text, and it has to be data. So what we do is we highlight everything from 1963 down to 2011. Once we get that highlighted, we should have the cell that says 1963 is our active cell. So what we do is we just type in 1963 there and hit return, and that makes that numeric. Now we're going to make the rest of the column numeric by going to Edit, Fill, and hitting Series. And then we're putting a series in a column. We're incrementing by 1 unit. We hit OK, and it should have the requisite number of cells highlighted to go from 1963 to 2011. We don't need these bottom rows, so we're going to delete them. And then we're going to go up and we're going to select some data for graphing. Go up to the top, select the year and quarter, title, and gross domestic product. You can either just hold down your mouse key and do this, or you can use the shift key and scroll down. So once you have those two columns selected, go to the insert menu, select chart. This pops up the ribbon. Once the ribbon is popped up, select scatter, and then I do straight lined scatter because it doesn't have those little marks that tend to mess up the graph so you can't see what's going on. Let's move the graph where we can get it and see the titles of our chart here, and we're going to rearrange some stuff. First, you'll notice that we need to make it a little bigger, so let's do that. And now you'll see that we have our legend, but it's taking up too much of our chart. So we're going to move it so it's actually within the chart. But once we do that, we need to format it so that it's no longer transparent. And we want to have it filled with a white background so that once we add more data, we won't be able to see the lines through the legend. Now we can resize the chart and make it take up more of the available space, and it just gives us a more professional look. Okay, now we're going to add some data. Before we do that, let's move our graph out of the way so we'll be able to see the data we're adding. There we go. So let's add the data now. Go up to chart, hit add data, and we are going to add this area here that for gross private investment. So we select that whole thing, hit OK, and now we want to format this data because it's on the same axes as gross domestic product, and so that's washing it out. So we select Format, Data Series, hit Secondary Axis. Okay, that gives us an axis that we can now see what fluctuations in the data are. But notice that our lines don't match up with the numbers on the right-hand side. So in order to change that, we click on the numbers, hit Format Axes, and then we go up and we count the number of increments on the left-hand side, and we have to pick a scale that will give us that on the right-hand side. So in this case, we need to change it from 25 to 3,500. Okay, now we want to get rid of the decimal points, the numbers to the right of the decimal. And in order to do this, we have to unclick the Linked to Source button, and then we can set our decimal places to 0. Hit OK, and you're good to go. Okay, it's also good to increase the size of the font on your axes. So do that on both of those, and you would probably, for a project, want to do this for the x-axis as well. Now you'll notice here we have gross domestic product, but our second series is just called Series 2. So we go up under source data, click on Series 2, and then click on the name for Series 2, and we can click the cell that contains that. I happen to know that it's right behind my menu item there, so I just click there and hit OK, and I'm good to go. Now it says gross private investment and gross domestic product. Okay, so I have them on separate axes, and now what I need to do is hit chart layout and put in a title. The title for this will just tell the reader what they're looking at. In this case, GDP and gross private investment. Okay, once I have that in place, I have this problem because I have separate axes. Well, which axes is for which data series? I need to title my axes so they tell the reader which axes to use to read which data series. So I type in gross domestic product on the left axis. I go over and insert a secondary vertical title for the right axis and type in gross private investment. Now we're almost done here. All we have to do is resize our graph a little bit so that the numbers on our axes isn't overlapping our axes title, because that looks unprofessional. Okay, we get that done, and then we can select the entire graph, hit copy, go over to Word, and in Word I always put in a new document and I hit 3 returns, and I paste my graph in at the second return. That way I can have space up above it to put in text, and I have space down below it to put in text or put in another graph like in your assignment. Okay, I can put in a caption from the insert menu. Just type in whatever you want. I was unimaginative when I put this title in, but you can come up with something more descriptive that would suit an employer better. Okay, and here we may need to resize it a little bit. Sometimes you will see that your legend gets messed up in the cut and paste, and so you have to go over and adjust the size of that. But you can do that within Microsoft Word. Once you get that done, you are completed. So you have a nice looking, professionally formatted graph on 2 separate axes.